Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Experience the magic of video games in November 1982. We were last playing Tron, unofficially, on the Commodore PET. Let's see what our next game is. We're next going to play TT Racer on the Atari home computer, 400 or 800. Another very obscure game. I mean, this box, this isn't even a real box. Someone made this and fabricated this. I have no idea where they got it from, but it has nothing to do with the game. All we have is a screenshot. So let's pop it and play TT Racer. This is by Chris Horseman, published by Centaur Soft, released at some time in November 1982. Really? Your real name is Chris Horseman? That's like Mangrove Earthshoe, the guy who did Biles Toad. That wasn't his real name. That can't be his real name. Come on. That's the second time we've seen Chris Horseman and the Centaur Soft company. They did Skiing also for the Atari. All right, so there's our beginning title screen. Oh, it looks like the same tracks that we saw in Skiing too. This game is only on the Atari home computer, and it's the 413th time we've played games for this home computer or series of home computers. All right, let's push start because I'm pushing select and I'm pushing option, and I get no options. It's just we're going in. Ready? Let's do it. Oh, racing. Okay, nice. So I can move left and right. Got my Atari VCS joystick plugged in. It is a auto-scrolling, top-down racing game. Very rare right now. We have some arcade games that do that, but it looks like I'm just slowly moving my motorcycle. But you got to admit, the animation of how it moves is pretty slick. But let's speed this up. Let's move the joystick up. Yeah, there we go. Every time you tap up on the joystick, you get a little bit faster. Am I done? Was that it? Oh, it must have been timing us. Let me try it again. Let's push start and go in again. Yeah, look at the top right. The score is in the top left, but the top right is your time. So you're meant to go as far as you possibly can within the constraints of the time limit. All right, so let's go faster. Faster. Looking all right. Faster. Oh, too fast. This game can fly. Well, now I just want to see how fast can we crank this. The time limit seems so short. I wish we could modify that, but that's it. That's all you got, as far as you can. And we've seen that before with score attack games or racing games, particularly on the Atari 2600. You know, you play as long as you can. We saw that with Sky Jinx, and you get a score based on how fast you can do it. Barnstorming also did that, but this one is just go. How fast can you go? I want to see how fast it goes. Let's just go crank it to the max. Oh my gosh, it seems like it just keeps going. Beyond insanity. What? It's almost unbearably fast. Gosh. But it is impressive seeing a video game scroll this quickly. We've seen it like in the arcades, but to play this at home, it would blow your mind. It also you wouldn't be able to play it very well. And that's a great point. I do not know if there is a checkpoint to go on further, but we've already reached about the end of this play session. Oh man, is there a way? What does the red button do, by the way? Nothing. I thought it would be like a brake, or maybe it would allow us to turn faster, but it doesn't do anything like that. So this is the sixth time we played a video game where we're on a motorcycle. We played Stunt Cycle in the arcade in 1976, then Street Racer or Speedway 2 on the Atari 2600. On the SHG Blackpoint home console, there was Motoradrennen, which I'm pronouncing that terribly in German. It was pretty much like Stunt Cycle. And then we also just saw Megaforce on the Atari 2600. So this is a racing driving game. This marks the 116th racing or driving video game we've played so far. 116 of them. And this one is the 45th racing or driving game that you could play on any home computer right now. On the Atari home computer, this is the 9th time we played a racing or a driving game. So you have some options, but you have to admit, there's not a whole lot of people making these kinds of games. So it's a treat. Ooh, that's cool. The other thing I wish they did is, I wish this game had a checkpoint that we wouldn't have to start at the beginning every time. We have to reset. And it's not changing the course. The course seems to be the exact same every single time. You have to have skill to see what the next screen is, because the next area looked like a neighborhood, and I really want to see what's next. But you have to be good enough. All right. Oh, and you just barely missed it. It's even more rare to play a racing or driving game like this, a top-down perspective that's auto-scrolling. Whoa, go, go, go! Some of the games you could play on home computers that do this would be like Dodge Cars on the Commodore VIC-20, Grand Prix on the Commodore VIC-20 by Titan Programs. Monaco GP is one we saw in the arcades, and then another one in the arcades was Radical Radial. So this is essentially a variant of Speed Race. One of the very first times we saw a racing game that did this. It was top-down auto-scrolling like this. So this is the 5th variant of Speed Race we've seen thus far on Chronologically Gaming. We saw Grand Champion in the arcade. We saw Burning Rubber and Bump and Jump. And then Turbo 2000 was one we saw for the TRS-80. But this one's pretty good. If we had more options, like it's like we're playing the shell of a game and it's not complete or finished. All right, looks like we're on good pace now. Oh, and then the time ran out. So it is a score attack game, so I'll give it that because of the time period. But this could have been so much better, so much. They could have added checkpoints. I don't even know how long this goes. It may be after that little city that we saw. That was it. That may be in the end of it. So it's a difficult one to rate, but you'd have a pretty good time. And this one's hard to come by. Like, there wasn't any love to give us any artwork. So it's a interesting title. It is very fast. It makes me feel like this is why developers wouldn't do a lot of racing games, at least up to this point. Yeah, Jeremiah's already thrown out 3 stars from the chat of all the games you could play on all home computers. And then Curtis Boyle's giving it a 2.5 to 3 star. Yeah, the difficulty's rough. It is so tough. I like the animation, though, on the motorcycle. It's pretty cool. And it makes you want to go fast. I want to see more and go faster than that. Even in my playtests, I didn't even get past that point. I got some better scores because every time you reset, you keep adding to your score. So it's an interesting title. I would say around the average range for everything you could play on home computers right now, all home computers. But you got to admit, it's rare to play something like this. Be Ready's thrown out 3 stars average for everything you could see up to this point. Yeah, I'm thinking around 3 to maybe 3.5. Did anyone even say that? I see some 2.5s actually. So no one went above a 3 star. So I'll say 3 stars. It's average, but you got to admit it should have been more. This has elements of a really good game because there's not so many out there. That's why I would want to go above average, but it's just not enough content. It's a quick fling. All right, after that, let's see what our next game is. We're next going to play Tube Frenzy, released on the TRS-80 color computer. The color is still going. The Coco is still going. All I got is screenshots for this one, not even advertisements. Let's pop in and play Tube Frenzy. This is by Dave Edson, published by Aardvark at some time in November 1982. Ah, bask in the green glow of the Coco. Oh, machine language, nice. So I'm going to be typing in and loading this up. Tube Fren. Load up Tube Fren. This one is only on the TRS-80 color computer, and it's the 173rd game we've played for the Coco. Execute. And it's Aardvark. This is the 22nd time we've seen Aardvark on the show, and the 4th time we've seen Dave Edson. He did games like Ketchum, Caterpillar, and my personal favorite, Venturer. If you like Venture in the arcade by Exidy, it's a really good one at home. Anytime now. I guess it's still loading. Or they want us to keep it on the screen to make sure that we do not duplicate this software. Even though I'm very glad they did, otherwise we wouldn't be playing it right now. There we go. Difficulty. Ooh, time difficulty. Okay, so we'll start with a difficulty number 1, and we only get 3. And then monster difficulty, which I'll explain in a sec. Let's do difficulty number 1. And then it's going to be loading for just a sec. So we got a very small difficulty option to begin the game. And then when we get into it, I'm going to have to explain what in the world's going on. Did I not? Oh, yeah, it's having to load. I thought the machine language would load a little faster, but we could have poked it, I guess, too. Hey, good question. Paul says, is a TRS-80 color enthusiast a coconut? If it's the Coco, it makes sense, right? It's the Coco nut. And Curtis confirms. All right, here we go. This is Tube Frenzy. We're playing the game right now. If you look on the bottom left, there's a yellow ball that's bouncing back and forth. What I have control of on my analog joystick is I can push the button and I can switch all the pads and see it changes the angle, and then the yellow ball bounces, and you're supposed to be collecting all of the flashing squares. Once you collect the flashing square, then it turns into another one of the slashes. I keep using the term slash because it reminds me of another game we played. All right, so you can see I'm making the ball go all the way around, and you're supposed to collect all of the flashing squares. What an interesting concept, because it's blending lots of things or games we've seen before. When the game was talking about monsters in the option menu, that red square that is also just randomly moving around the maze, that is a monster. Much to be desired. Yeah, very simplistic in its design. But what we're seeing here is an original creation. This has nothing we've seen in the arcades, nothing that it has homages to some games we've seen, but it's a video game that is rare in one regard, that we're not directly controlling the action. We are only able to control where the slashes are sending the yellow ball, so we're not in control of the yellow ball whatsoever. You can see it's just bouncing around. We just got to get everything, and the faster we do it, then the higher score we get. The other thing you can do, though, in the game is I can take my analog joystick and I can say, let's speed this sucker up. Yeah, I can speed up and I can slow down to a stop if I want to. The action. So I can just go quick to try to get some more bonus points. Yeah, there we go. So if you want to just, you know, crank the... Uh-oh, did we catch ourselves? I think we caught ourselves. Okay, no, we didn't. Go there, and then go there. I don't know if we can get out of this spot in the bottom. Yeah, it won't let me... There, we'll go that way, and then go that way, and then go here. And I guess we can have to make our way around the other side. So it reminds me of several games that we've already seen. The first one that comes to mind is Deflection or Slash Ball. This is a variant of that. It's the 7th variant we've seen of Deflection or Slash Ball. Games like Deflect, Bouncy, Super Deflect, Turbo Flex, and those kind of games where they didn't have this maze or this grid where you had an objective to collect things. All it was you get points for bouncing the ball around. So this one takes that idea and makes it a much better game. This one is more fun to play, and I like how it's original. Yikes! We get flashed like crazy whenever the time runs out, and then we start over at the beginning again. So you're trying to be able to collect all of the flashing squares as fast as you can, but... Oh, we missed that one. Okay, go back that way. There we go. And then bounce off this side, and you can see we can switch that, but you just got to make sure you stay away from the monster. Go, go, go. Let's do it back here, there, and then there. And so you're just determining where the ball is going to bounce next. Go there, and then switch it up. Interesting idea. I like it because here on Chronologically Gaming, we play so many games. Something that's original is always very refreshing. Let's see if we can get him to go down there. Just like that, yeah. I know, that's a good point. Some people aren't really big fans of games that you're indirectly controlling everything on the screen. So it feels very, very, not as arcadey as you would expect. All right, so the other thing that makes this game interesting is this is one of the very rare times that a video game is in real time allowing me to adjust the speed of the game. I have time manipulation in a video game. Now, here on the show, we've been emulating these video games, so we have used our save states and fast forward through cassettes loading and things like that. But this is in the game. Part of the game's feature is you can slow down and speed up time. So that's something that's also rare about this. It's one of the first we've ever seen up to this point. And there's another game we played that's what you would refer to as a light beam puzzle. It was called Zero Zap on the Texas Instruments home computer. This one is the kind of idea of you're doing something that's indirectly affecting something else. That would be a light beam puzzle. This game, I would say, is more fun than that. I would say better than Zero Zap. But I get the idea and the concept, and I would want to play a little bit more because it has kind of the feels of a puzzle game, possibly. Just something new and fresh. Yeah, so looking over the chat, we already got Jeremiah throwing out 3.5 stars of all the games you could play on all home computers. Yeah, it's interesting. It's different. I like how it's mixing a little bit like Pac-Man. We got a top-down maze, but you aren't controlling anything on the screen. Or you're just flipping the switches, and then you're speeding up or slowing down, trying to get a high score and collect everything on the screen. I like it. Tube Frenzy is something new. And usually when it's something new, I like to say above average if I can, unless someone's punching way above their weight class, and I really want to give it a 3.5 star rating. But this one actually is a very apropos 3.5, if I'm thinking of everything you could play on all home computers. Yeah, James is saying 4. Yeah, but there's not many puzzle games right now. That's a good point. We don't have any true puzzle-style games. Curtis is saying 3.5. We got a Manly with 3.5 and some above averages. So, yeah, we got 1 4, mostly 3.5s. I'm going to say, yeah, 3.5 for Tube Frenzy. It's a good time. I'd go back and play some more. And anything that's new here is always a plus. All right, after that, let's see what our next game is. We're going to hang on a little longer for releases on the Coco with Tumblers. This one is this 174th game we've played for the Coco. Tumblers is another one you probably never heard of before, because it's the first time we've ever had a video game from Color Computer News, this issue, the November 1982 one. It is a type-in game. It is the 89th time we've typed in to play a video game. And this one is, if you flip to the right page, you find Tumble, which is the same game as Tumbler. Game program for the Color Computer, 16K, and if you type it all up, I don't even think it's all on one page, then you get this. That's a screenshot of the game. All right, I got more here. Here's the whole type up for everything, also known as Tumble. This is by Andrew Pekursky. The third time we've seen Andrew. Way to go, Andrew. He did Robot Bomber and Conveyor Belt that we've seen so far on the show. And I got to tell you, when we do type-in games, I'm perusing magazines, and I like to select a few samples of type-in style games, because we'd be here forever if we did every single type-in game. There are magazines and books, so many magazines, so many books of so many games that are hiding in there that I just like to bring out the ones that of someone making a novel idea. All right, so let's pop in and play, or type in and play Tumblers whenever you typed it in at some time in November 1982. And Curtis is saying there's a lot of Andrew coming. This is only the third time, so we'll keep a running tally of that. All right, so this one is in basic. Making tumblers happen. Even though the game's called Tumble in the magazine, it was referenced by Andrew Pekursky himself as Tumblers, and there you can see the title says that. So we're going to use our analog joystick and avoid a collision with tumblers. One hit and your craft is destroyed. Your score is based on the amount of time you manage to stay alive, and they're going to poke the machine language code. Oh, so it's not all in basic. All right, ready? So that means before we start the game, they're going to poke it for us? Well, that's so nice. So we can do 1 is the slowest, 100 is the fastest. Let's go with 5 and see how that goes. Let's see what happens. Stand by. Oh, nice. So I'm controlling a crosshair in the center of the screen. We only got 2 tumblers right now that are moving around the screen. I have what I've seen before with some of the games we played on the Coco, where we understand the analog joystick is supposed to give you smooth control, but notice that the frame rate seems to be slower. If you had spent the time to type this in and play, you would not care, though. Because we play everything on home computers, I'm noticing it and realize, oh, yeah, 3 tumblers now. And so it does make me feel like I'm going a little bit slower. I wonder if you could even poke this to go even faster. Gosh, yes. So all we're doing is we are dodging. That's the tumblers or the shrapnel that's flying around. Those red things are what we need to dodge. Just make sure that your blue crosshair doesn't run into anything. Man, at this point, we played so many games that I'm starting to get very, very subtle hints of video games released now. Sometimes type-in games or very simple games that just remind me of mobile games now, or the simple time wasters that people play nowadays. They had them all the way back here in November 1982, and this is another example. Oh, see, we're getting more. I'm expecting slowdown when more tumblers start coming around the screen. In a way, this makes you feel like we're playing asteroids if we took away the shooting mechanic. You know, like when you shoot an asteroid, it blows into the shrapnel and it flies around. This feels like I'm playing asteroids, but my ship has no firepower whatsoever. Just keep dodging everything. Hey, welcome in. We're just playing it's not even a shooter. You expect shooters to be in November 1982 to be fun, but we're not even shooting anything. I also can't move to the bottom 1/3 of the screen. And This is, I think L. Curtis B said this is because it's possible that the map of the player position at a 1-to-1 ratio with the Y position of the joystick is why you can't move to the bottom. At least Curtis Boyle said that in his article. Now, this game in the original listing, when you actually spent the time to type this in, had a serious bug. One that made the data statement wrong, and it caused the game to hang. Now, the game we're playing, we wouldn't be able to play if it wasn't for Curtis Boyle, who's in the chat right now. So thanks, Curtis, for us to allow us to play. Let's crank this to 100 and see, because otherwise, when you played the game, there would be a freezing bug, but we are not going to freeze when we play this one. Oh my gosh, that's what 100 is impossible. That is hilarious. Okay, yeah, we'll play the game. How about 50? Okay, yeah, the speed actually makes the cursor go faster too. It makes everything go faster. Well, 100 is unplayable. We can just play with 50. So now I'm very divisive on how I'm going to rate this, because the original way you typed this in had a game-breaking bug. So would you call the game broken? Or would you say that this is because we're able to play a better version now? It's all right for the games you could play. But I'm thinking still, of all the games up to this point, for everything you could play on home computers, it's around 1 to 2 stars. Yes, anyone could be challenged. Yeah, if the original game's broken, do you call the game broken? But I understand the concept. It just feels limited, and it almost makes me think of, we play video games that we've already seen some really great arcade games, and then we see games that are not, that they're just not, they're taking away from original ideas, like I explained with Asteroids. All right, there you go. There's your sample of tumblers. I still am not sure how to rate it. Between 1 and 2 stars. You could just say the game's broken because you typed it in that way. And it is being rated against everything else on home computers. We're not rating this against the type-in games that are out there. Brad's saying 2. We got a 1.5. Some more 2s. 2.5. Manly saying your mom could even play this one. And I bet she could. Curtis is saying not bad for a type-in game. Yeah, that's right. That's a good point, Marshall. Does anyone know if the magazine sent a correction out, or it always had the bug until you got a hold of it? Because did you fix it yourself, Curtis, whenever we were playing this, or was it broken before that? Yeah, Rage 3 Alpha's throwing out 2 stars, which if we say a 2-star, that means bad. It's bad. It's a bad game for all the games you could play on all home computers right now. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I'll say 2. I won't go down, and I'll still call it a bad game, best of the bad, but it was programmed well for a type-in game. It is very simplistic, though. Yeah, best of the bad. All right, so after that, let's see what our next game is. We're next going to play on the Apple II, and this is the release of Tunnel Terror. I like the name already. Here's the box for Tunnel Terror, which this is pretty cool. This is actually the first screenshot you see in the game, but the scan I got is terrible. This looks like it was November 1982. It's not brand new. So this is the 423rd game we've played on the Apple II, or all the variants of Apple II. And then we have an example of the screenshot, but that's it. Another game without a lot of love. Let's pop it and play Tunnel Terror by Eric J. Popejoy, published by Adventure International, released at some time in November 1982. Adventure International? This is the 92nd time we've played a game published by Adventure International, bringing us games like Scott Adams' Classic Adventure series, tons of other adventure games, and then there's been games that they've done that are arcade, like some of the games that have different styles of games. The Stone of Sisyphus is another one they did, and Morton's Fork, which are kind of like role-playing-esque. And then they've also done Planetoids, The Eliminator, Armored Patrol, which is awesome, Rear Guard, Tutti Frutti, Sea Dragon, Preppy, Stratos, and Arex. All right, we just want to play Tunnel of Terror. They flash that screen so fast. But here's the opening. You can tell they're working some magic on the Apple II. That's awesome. This is by Eric Popejoy. Way to go, Eric. It's the 3rd time we've seen Eric Popejoy. He did Galaxy Gates and Missile Attack. All right, so it's going through a demo mode right now. If you hear the crazy sounds in the background, if you want to push S, then it just mutes it all. a very good feature because when the Apple II was first released, you couldn't mute any of these games unless you had like a way to turn there wasn't a way to turn the volume down on the monitors. So nice touch, but I'm going to turn it back on. Yeah, you can also see the high score, and if you want to play with 4 people, you can, but you're going to take turns as if you were in the arcade. So I'm going to go in with a 1-player game, and I can switch. Oh, I can pick the level I want. Look at that, just like you did in Tempest. So I'm going to go with level number 1, hit return, and bring it on. There we go, I'm in. All right, so it's a clone of Tempest. Interesting clone, though. As I make my way around, that's weird. As I'm flying around, the ship is fine-tuned to move around, but my shot only fires in one place on each grid. Like, you see that? It's very strange. You just want to destroy as many ships as you can before they reach the end. Whether you destroy them or whether they reach the end, you move on to the next level. And it's attempting to do the vector-based, wireframe graphics that we saw with Tempest in the arcades. Whoa. That's true, and I'm not traveling the border like Tempest would. I'm like on the outskirts of the border. But notice that every time I move to a quadrant, it is not... It's so strange. It's firing only in one place for each section rather than... It feels like the control is not as tight. But it is using the analog joystick that you would have for the Apple II. So we don't have to do keyboard controls. I guess you could if you wanted to. But it's very weird because I don't see how I can die. I actually don't see how I can... Oh, wait, there, that's why. Oh, look. That's how. The enemies, if too many reach the outside perimeter, then they'll swarm you and kill you. Whoa, that's crazy. Alright, so if you think a game that is 4-player, where you can take turns like an arcade game, is rare, it's really not. This is the 42nd time we played a video game where you can have 4 players and you hot seat style. Pop it back and forth. This is the 9th time we played what we refer to as a tube shooter. It's a shoot 'em up that takes place where you're able to move completely around the perimeter of the play screen. And so we played games like Tempest that we saw in October 1981 in the arcade, and then games like Tornado and Bug Off that was done by Adventure International. They also have another tube shooter. This is so bizarre, though, and it's not. It's like an homage to Tempest, but it's really not playing exactly like Tempest. Look, now it's even doing the lines that they have in Tempest. Let's see if I can get that one. Yeah, you're just going to sink down into the hole. That's crazy. Yeah, Marshall's saying, yeah, unplug the speakers so your parents... Yeah, it could be too loud for your parents, definitely. Let me... Oh, there's another one. Get him. Do we have to destroy these all the way? We have to bring the lines all the way down? It's not going to the next level. Usually it'll just go right to the next one. That might be it, right? Yeah, there we go. Ubicore. I don't know if that's the sound that people add or not. It's definitely loud and annoying, and I love it. Another game that we played that was a tube shooter was Star Post. And so there's not that many out there. This is only the 9th game that's like a tube shooter so far. I'm glad it has joystick control. This perspective also is kind of rare. It's not really a top-down or a side view perspective. We call this like a other perspective. It's the 16th video game that has a different way to look at the game compared to other ones. But it's a variant of Tempest. This is the 4th time we've seen a true variant of Tempest. Storm on the Coco, the Exterminator, and Tubeway. And this game is giving you a little bit of the feels of Tempest, but not really. Tubeway is still the best way to play Tempest at home so far. I know we're not going to say, oh, we got a high score table? That's awesome. Let's put her in. So I like the presentation for this one. We got the high score table. Notice that the intro and this outro, they're spending time to polish it a little bit. Yeah, I know, Marshall. There's things that they have that remind me of Tempest, but yeah, the spikes didn't hurt me or anything. So it's like they saw Tempest. Maybe they saw someone playing Tempest and then decided to make the game. Tunnel Terror. That's a weird one. So of all the games you could play right now on all home computers, I still would give it to Tubeway, definitely. But you would still have enjoyment and fun with this one. And you can tell that someone worked a long time to make this one run and play. It just has elements that just feel a little off compared to everything else that's out there. Charlie's throwing out 4 stars. We got a 3 from James. Ubagor can still hear the sound. Yes, even after it's turned off. My ears have been bleeding. I think I've already said before, we've been playing these games from from the beginning of time, and I've blown out 2 headsets because of the sound. We got lots of 3.5s. Brad, Curtis, Marshall, and Manley saying 3.5. Now, I originally said Tubeway was a 4-star game. I would say excellent. A very, very good game for all the games you could play on a home computer. I'll still say above average. Tunnel Terror is an above average game for everything on all home computers right now. And Ubicore is being generous with another 4-star. Sweet. Lots of games. All right, that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining me here on the live show in November 1982. Who knows what games we're going to see or what's going to happen, because we're now getting into the realm of where are these games from, or what system are these from? They're just very, very obscure. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, the video game industry is in turmoil on the Atari 2600, the Atari 400, Atari 800, and the Commodore VIC-20. And we tackle lots of typos. That's it for today, and like I always say, if you program it, we will play it. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.